one battle after another is where you can find that. You could also find it, obviously, on any streaming service just to sit there and listen to and get a piece of it. But what I wanted to talk a little bit more about was just him and his career, um, in so many different ways, because he had a really, really, really good career. Born April 1st, 1949, he was a jazz poet, a singer, a musician, and author. He was also very huge as a spoken word performer in the 70s and 80s. He was very collaborative with Brian Jackson and fused jazz, blues, and soul with his lyrics relative to social and political issues of the time, delivered with both rapping and melismatic vocal styles. He referred to himself as a bluesologist, his own term for a scientist who is concerned with the origin of blues. I like that. Uh, Very cool. His poem, which we just mentioned a little while ago, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised," that is delivered over a jazz soul beat, and a very, very big influence on hip hop music, which there isn't a music style that we're ever going to ignore here at the Hookup, and definitely we're never going to ignore anything along those lines. Because definitely, when you come to every music in the business, you want to sit there and you want it to definitely, uh, you want it all to kind of hit in its own way. But back to Gil Scott-Heron, he began his recording career in 1970 with the LP "Small Talk" of 125th and Lenox. Bob Thiel of the Flying Dutchman Records produced the album, and he was accompanied Gil Scott-Heron was accompanied by Eddie Knowles and Charlie Saunders on conga, and David Barnes on percussion and vocals. 14 tracks that dealt with a lot of different themes, from television and mass consumerism to hypocrisy and revolutionaries, middle class ignorance, and difficulties faced by a lot of people who are just in the hard times. Definitely something that you should take note of is that he acknowledged his influences being from Richie Havens, John Coltrane, Otis Redding, Jose Feliciano, Billie Holiday, Langston Hughes, Malcolm X, Huey Newton, not Huey, Huey Lewis and the Newton, no, Huey Newton, Nina Simone, and Brian Jackson. These are the people who he really, really, really looked up to. His 1971 album, Pieces of a Man, was definitely structured loose in spoken word, which definitely you find it to be, well, spoken word is really coming from the heart, and you're not going to find much music that is as real as that. But through this, some other albums, a live album, "It's Your World," uh, "Midnight Band," "The First Minute of a New Day." He also the single "Johannesburg," which was a rally cry for the end of apartheid in South Africa, which very, very lots of songs. "Biko" by Peter Gabriel is another song that is strong in the efforts of that movement, which I find to be very interesting and amazing. Not what happened, but the amount of work that people went through to spread, to get things to try to be better. You could always try to be better. Scott Haram played the No Nukes concert at Madison Square Garden, uh, which was definitely interesting. His song "We Almost Lost Detroit" was included in the No Nukes album, which was one of the highlights. Um, he was, though, a critic in the 80s of the president and some of his policies, which went against what Gil Scott-Heron was kind of preach against. In the 80s, he released "Realize," "Reflections." Ron Holloway joined also the ensemble, playing some tenor saxophone. Uh, but very, 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 very interesting. Those are some of his highs. We're not here to focus on Gil Scott Heron's lows. We're only here to focus on his highs and his great music that he released.